Welcome to 2016 Presidential Candidate Interviews. Today I am interviewing Robert Macleod. Mr. Macleod is running in the American Party. Hello, Mr. Macleod. How are you doing today?
I'm no less than marvelous. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. To begin with, we'll do some icebreaker questions just so people can kind of get to know you. And then after that, we'll go into the issue-based questions so people can know where you stand on all this stuff. Are you ready?
I'm more than ready, brother. Let's do this.
Here we go. Can you describe your family and your home life?
Well, my family and home life is great. I mean, the kids are grown and gone from home. It's me and my wife. We've been married 30 years now. We got 2 dogs. We actually have 2 houses here on the property, and we live in the trailer because it's actually bigger than we can take care of because, we work like 9 hours a day and drive an hour to work and drive an hour home. So 11 hours of the day is spent on our jobs, and when we get home, we really don't feel like cleaning the house. So we live in a little bitty house and just kind of take care of each other. So, I mean, it's great. Our family life is wonderful.
All right. Can you describe your employment, your work history, your current work experience?
Well, I've worked many jobs as a young man in construction, all kinds. Like everybody else, I've been a night cook, a construction, but I've always been a mechanic. Even when I was a teenager, I was a tinkerer working on stuff all the time. Well, after I came out of the Coast Guard, I realized that my niche was working on stuff because I just had this feel for how an engine's supposed to sound. And I was the owner of 3 businesses myself. In fact, the last business that I had, just signed it over my partner. It's still open today. My name's on the sign. I haven't been there since 2000. And the last 11 years, I've been with Hyundai Motor America, and I'm considered quite a prospect there with Hyundai Motor America. Y'all can, work on cars for a living now. And if you have ever been to a dealership yourself and know what it's like to deal with a dealership, then you kind of know what I go through every day on a daily basis.
All right. What are your hobbies and your interests?
Well, I love to hunt, fish. Me and my wife, we're avid hunters and fishermen. I'm not a big NASCAR fan because, NASCAR runs kind of during hunt season, and I'm glad to be in the woods. Even though while I used to run dirt trackers all the time, so I do still keep up with what the dirt trackers are doing. Other than that, we go to work, we come home, hunting and fishing, that's about it. And if it doesn't have anything to do with hunting and fishing, the wife and I pretty much don't even look into it anymore because we just kind of locked in on our jobs, taking care of business. Because if you face it, the economy has been so bad, it's took everything 2 working people can do just to get by. So it's kind of been narrowed down or shrunk down to just hunting, fishing, and working.
All right. Do you have a favorite restaurant you like to eat out at?
Well, when I can go out to it, I love the Outback. I love Outback Steakhouse. No matter when I've been there, they've always, served me good. They've always had what I wanted to drink. They've always had what I wanted to eat. It was always good. I always got good service. I've never had a complaint at an Outback Steakhouse. But other than that, Outback, oh, God, the list of complaints can go on and on, even at the Red Lobster. I mean, I've been in Red Lobsters all over the United States, and I can tell you, some of them don't need to be open.
Do you have a favorite fast food joint?
Oh, yeah. I know there's Hardee's, McDonald's, and all that, and they're fast and they're quick and all that, but those of you that have a Sonic drive-in, you'll know what I'm talking about. I love a jalapeno burger and the little cheddar, nachos, not nachos, but the little cheddar potato balls. Damn it, I can't even think what they call hash browns, potato hash browns. Oh, my goodness. But a cheddar hash brown and a jalapeno burger is heaven to me.
Okay. Do you have any favorite junk food?
Junk food. I probably don't eat much junk food, but if I had to think about it, let's see. I am kind of partial to ice cream. I love sherbet lime. I mean, my wife thinks I'm an idiot because I'll get a bottle, I'll get a container of sherbet and I'll just sit there and eat it till it's all gone. I won't even save it. I just eat it.
How about any favorite TV shows or movies?
Whew. Well, I don't watch many TV shows unless they're like on History Channel or stuff like that. As far as movies, though, I can name like Smokey and the Bandit, Tombstone, Sniper, Enforcer, Good, Bad, and Ugly. Anything with Clint Eastwood in it, I probably will watch it because I love Clint Eastwood. Tombstone and Smokey and the Bandit, I've probably watched them at least 20 times each. I've probably got both of them memorized, so that kind of gives you an idea of what I watch.
All right. Do you have any pets? Dogs, cats, horses, reptiles, anything?
Well, we got 2 dogs, a pit boxer, and a mountain cur. We've got chickens. We're building a rabbit pen now because we're fixing to start raising rabbits too. We keep the garden. Let the chickens run through the garden so it keeps the bugs down. I mean, pretty much, if we're not at work, we've got a full-time job at home taking care of chickens and dogs.
All right, and the final getting to know you question. Do you have a song that kind of you consider that? Do you have a song that kind of represents you that might be a life anthem or a motto or anything like that?
You know, thinking about this, the only song that really could be my anthem would be Bo Cephas' Country Boy Can't Survive, and I think a lot of people can relate with the Country Boy Can Survive. We can skin a buck, we can run a trot line. Country boys can survive.
All right, and now on to the serious questions. The first one, why are you running for president?
Well, I said over 2 years ago my redneck thoughts of the day, and I do videos every day with the redneck thought of the day. I said over 2 years ago that the United States of America, people were going to get tired of the lies, the corruption, and everything else. And it's going to take someone that can think from outside the box, that doesn't think every problem is a mountain. You know, I solve people's problems every day, and 9 times out of 10, the simple solution is the correct problem. And when you can get someone that has the ability to diagnose something, they have that unique ability to be able to look and see what's going on and say, okay, this one thing right here may be causing a ripple effect down here. And until you get somebody in that office that has that ability, none of this stuff is going to go away. Not only that, the last time I checked, our Constitution says we the people, not we the corporations. And a lot of people have noticed that this is all about corporations now. This is so much about corporations that it's funny. Look, they're spending billions of dollars for a $400,000 a year job. What part of this doesn't resonate through your body tells you that this is about corporations. This is not about the people anymore. It's about companies. We need to get American values, God, family, Constitution, and country back in that top office and start making them understand. The United States of America Constitution says we the people. And that's why I'm running.
What abilities would you bring to the office of president?
Well, one, I just said that, the ability to be able to think outside the box and look at the problems and evaluate what's going on. I mean, if we don't have someone that is capable of actually figuring out what the problem is and fixing the problem, we can't just throw money at it or make a committee to study it. We've got to get our sleeves rolled up, get our butts out there and go to work and fix the problem. And let's face it, how many days are they working? What, 121 days out of 365 days a year? I myself have to work 284 days out of the year. I'm sure a lot of people out there listening have to work 284 days out of the year. We have to work every day. Those people in Congress and the Senate and the White House, they only think about us when it's election time. The rest of the year, they don't forget about us. But we think about them every time we go to the grocery store. We pay electric bill, we buy gas. I mean, good Lord, every time we get a paycheck, we look on there and see the taxes and Social Security, and we're going, who the hell is SSI? When did he work for me? You follow what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We feel the government every day. They feel us when it's election time, and that That's got to change, brother. That has got to change.
Okay. Are there any presidents that you look at with kind of favor, presidents that have aspects of their presidency that you would want to emulate? Who would
just two off the top of my head would be Kennedy and Reagan. I mean, Kennedy was able to unite people like no other, and Reagan was an actor, but he was a common man. And when he got there, he saw the problems, but he still tried to help the American people to avoid this headlong collision that was going on with the government. He saw what was going on. And though he wasn't able to right away change it, he tried to make it easier on the American people. And he built this country up and made us proud to be Americans again. And that's what we got to get back. People, we got to get somebody that's proud to be an American again.
Are there any presidents that you definitely would not want to be like?
Well, knowing that he used his power to try to spy on people, that would be Nixon. And, of course, not that I want to use the Oval Office to try to influence ladies, so that would be Clinton. And since I'm not a Muslim and I'm not a Muslim, how do I say this? I don't like people that tell me if I don't convert, I'm going to die. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say Barack Obama. I'm not going to be like him either because, you know, the Muslim Brotherhood hates a lot of people in the Western world, and Mr. Obama wants to cushion up and cuddle up with the Muslim Brotherhood, and this has had a very negative effect on the United States of America. I mean, I get thousands of messages every day about this Muslim imposter that's in our White House, and I can tell you, while I would try to be nice about it, I have a lot of people that send me messages that are not nice about Barack Obama.
Okay. Are there any functions of government you'd like to decrease or even abolish?
Well, there's three of them that come to the top of my head just right away. That would be the EPA, the Bureau of Land Management, and the IRS. The EPA, look, something that came out a few months back that people could not burn wood in their houses or fireplaces or their stoves because of the smoke. Up north, we have a lot of people who depend on wood to heat their homes. And for the EPA to come out and make a statement like this is just absurd. Not only that, they literally put more regulations against the coal industry than we can fathom. They've shut down the lead smelting plants. These are people that are losing their jobs because of regulations. Now they're trying to tell us that the water runoff belongs to the federal government. If your land has water runoff on it, it can be tied back to being owned by the federal government. Okay, we got to shut the EPA down. We got to send them packing. In fact, we need to just fund them with enough money to buy yellow paper to write their resumes on. The Bureau of Land Management. This is a big one for me, and if I ever got into office and found out that Harry Reid was using the Bureau of Land Management for his own personal gain, I'll personally swear out a warrant for him. The Bureau of Land Management has gone after people for things that not about the property, other than the fact that it's got minerals or resources, or potentially will make them millions of dollars in their pockets. If you check into the Bureau of Land Management, you'll see they've just been acquiring land and taking it away from legal landowners just because they're on the government, and if you don't accept my offer, I'll kick you out. This has got to quit. The IRS, if you ever try to apply for a 501c, the IRS is going to come after you full force. They're going to pick up the phone. They're going to call their friends at ATF, FBI, everybody else, and have you totally investigated on why you should have a tax-free status. And if you're a Republican or a Tea Party person, you're really going to get hammered with it. Well, the IRS needs to go away. And now we've got them in charge of our health care, too. They're already a cluster with our taxes. We're going to allow them to handle our health care, too. The IRS has got to be gone. We got to figure out something else for them to do. If it's making paper airplanes and flying them across the Pacific, I don't care. Something else has got to be done with them.
Are there any functions of government you'd like to add to or increase? Are there any departments that maybe need to be formed?
Well, one thing that we're going to increase, military. We're going to reduce the restrictions on our high school graduates. You know, just because they didn't graduate from high school doesn't mean that they won't have honor in serving in the military, and they can always get their GED in the military. Just tell them they're not qualified to go in the military because they didn't graduate high school or they don't have a GED. That's got to go. Those are the ones that we need in the military. Those are the ones that I would stand up and train in the military. I wouldn't have a problem with having a group of kids that came out, 12 years in school and they didn't graduate. They come out, they don't have any skill, they don't have a job. What better place for them to learn a skill or a job than in the military? And there is honor in serving your country. We got to relax the standards on the military and let them come in. Border Patrol, right now the Border Patrol does not have any support from the Oval Office. The Border Patrol needs 100% support from the Oval Office, from the military, whoever it takes to secure our border. If we don't get that border secured, we're going to be overrun. We're going to be a third world nation. We've got to secure that border down now. We have to get the national security built up so that people feel confident in their homes at night when they go to sleep. Letting criminals overrun our country is not the way to make people feel secure in their own homes. So, yeah, military and Border Patrol are two biggies right there.
All right. Can you describe your stance on taxes?
Well, I've said this for the past 2 years or 3 years, flat tax, fair tax, anything would be a glorious act that gets away from the IRS. But my favorite is the national sales tax. I'll tell you why. No matter what you buy, if you pay a sales tax on it, it all goes to the government. Okay. If Bill Gates decides he wants to buy a $1 billion resort, he's still got to pay that tax. And it's going to be equal and equivalent across the board. It doesn't matter. The only thing that you wouldn't put that fair tax on or that national sales tax on would be groceries. People got to eat, and the money to buy the food is getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. We don't help people by adding more tax to food. So the only thing that would be tax exempt from a national sales tax would be food, period.
Describe your stance on the abortion pro-choice issue.
Well, it's easy for me. I am pro-life. I'm pro-life, okay? But Roe versus Wade is the current law. And until the current law changes, Roe versus Wade is the law. But my personal feelings is that, birth control should start in a bedroom and not in a clinic. The key here is probably to educating our students, especially when they get into the high school level and they start being promiscuous and start thinking about having sex. That's the time when you need to be educated. Not in the first grade, second grade, about the birds and the bees. You need to get them when they are starting to get into the early teens and say, look, we understand you're having these feelings. But along with these feelings comes responsibility. You need to think about what you're going to do. You lay down in that bed, you may produce a child. And thinking about, I don't want this child in the abortion clinic is not the time to be making a decision. That's just my personal feeling.
Right. What role should our military play in the world?
Well, first place, we're not the world's police. Our military should be a strong defense for the United States of America and the United States of America's interests. And at the current moment, the way things are going, about the only interest that we probably should have at the moment is Israel, because, Israel, Japan, probably South Korea. We've got, oh, my God, last time I checked, we got like 600 bases around the world. We have 150 bases in 100 countries that don't like us. They burn our flags, but they like our money. They want our money. I think if a country burns our flag, we have no interest in having a military base there. Now, if someone wants to attack the United States, it's a whole different story. We will defend ourselves, and we'll, just like in Japan, They wanted to attack us. We annihilated them. I mean, there's no need to play and beat around the fence about it. You jump on us, you're going to get your butt kicked. That's all there is to it. So I think we need to pull a lot of our bases from overseas, shut them down, bring our resources home, open up bases here to help the economies in the towns near those bases. Not only that, it'll build up our defenses in the United States. It'll make people feel more secure in their homes. And if somebody wants to play Barney butt ass and jump on us, we will have the most powerful force in the world. We'll just come and kick your butt. I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush about it. This is just like this stuff with ISIS. If we'd have jumped on them right from the get-go, ISIS would be was. But, we've got a president that has removed Iran, Hezbollah, and everybody else off the terrorist list and won't even call ISIS or Israel, if he wants to call them that, a terrorist organization. Now we've got blacks in the United States of America that are going on Facebook and everything else calling for the death of white people and cops. And do you think they're going to list them as a terrorist? First thing I would do is list this guy as a terrorist, find him, hunt him down, and have him arrested for making terroristic threats or trying to incite a riot. Same way with Louis Farrakhan. He's calling for 10,000 people to kill whites. Where is the president? Silent. We've had 8 cops killed in, 9 days, something like that? Where is the president? Silent. This is not how you run a country. And if anybody thinks that President Obama is doing a good job, they are sadly mistaken. In fact, they need to just pack up the bags and leave the United States of America. So we need a real American back in that office. We need a common man who has a common way of thinking to take over and set the precedent for the next 100 years. Not the next Muslim country that can come in here and move in. We need the United States of America, a sovereign nation that believes in the red, white, and blue, that believes in defending herself, believes in our Constitution, believes in our Bill of Rights. This guy that's up there now, I don't even know what this guy believes in anymore. It's hard to be nice and be civil when you see so many things going in the wrong direction. And people wonder why I'm running for president. I'm the average Joe out here working for a living and seeing our country go to hell in a handbasket. And I'm standing up speaking for the people. I'm speaking for the people. I know everybody says Donald Trump's speaking for the people. Y'all know Donald Trump used to watch my videos? Donald Trump used to see my videos, and he saw what people were pissed off about. And now he's taking his $9 billion and wanting to get a $400,000 a year job. It ain't about being president. It's about how many billions of dollars he can make if he's sitting up there in that office. So people better figure it out. Either you're going to be for the money or you're going to be for the people. My Constitution says we the people, not we the corporations. I don't know what your Constitution says. Maybe you need to send me a copy of it and let me read it, because especially if it says anything other than we the people of the United States.
How would you handle immigration and border security?
Well, first place, you already know I said we'd seal the borders down. I have no problem with sealing the borders down. And here is the big thing. We need to get the illegals that have criminal records off the street. We need to get them, and I've said it in my videos before. I don't care if we have to launch them by a water cannon back across the Rio Grande. They need to get out of this country. We need to deport anyone who has come here illegally. First place, the word illegal. You're illegal, okay? But if you are a criminal in your own country, what's anyone to stop you from becoming a criminal in this country? Not a damn thing. If they're a criminal there, they're going to be a criminal here. I don't want them here. Now, if someone comes here, and I hear this word being thrown around about anchor babies. Okay. First place, a child has no control over where they're born. I understand that. And I understand that a mother who had no choice but to come here to escape whatever she was escaping, she had no choice. She got here, she had her baby here. If she is a productive person in society, she's one of the first ones that needs to be on the list to be here legally. But if she's got a criminal record, she's the same as the guy that snuck across with a felony arrest record a mile long. If they have an arrest record back across the border, no chance of coming back. Goodbye. See you. But if you're a productive citizen and you've been providing, supplying, and helping, if you've been producing, you have a chance of coming to becoming legal. And that's the whole thing. Become legal. Speak the language. Learn our history. The simple things that every other person that has come here has done in the past. They came here and they did it legally. You got to remember, if you're here illegally, you broke the law to get here. I can overlook a partial breaking the law if you don't have a felony record where you came from. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. As long as you don't have a felony record from where you came from, you're good with me. I'll give you a chance. But if you got a felony record, goodbye.
All right. The next question. How do you perceive the issues of race and discrimination in America? Do we still face challenges? How do you handle those?
Well, you know, having grown up in a time where we had segregation and being bused across town so that the balance of school would fill out with the same amount of whites as blacks, I lived through this stuff. I didn't, excuse me, I lived through it. And one thing I've learned in my 55 years is that racism is taught. You are not born being a racist. People are taught to be racist. And when you always sit around talking about using slurs for talking about groups of people, your child hears this. And eventually your child will be using these terms, so to speak. And if you keep throwing it in front of them, then eventually it's going to be part of their livelihood. So as far as I'm concerned, racism is not really an issue until somebody chooses to make it an issue. And when someone that has been taught racism stands up and starts spouting it out of their mouth, others are going to listen. They're going to take notice. And they'll be like, well, that's how my daddy was talking too, so it must be okay. It's not okay. It's not cool. I work with blacks, Mexicans, Hispanics, Koreans. I have worked with just about every nationality between my jobs and being in the Coast Guard. And I can tell you, people are not inherently racist. You run into those that have been taught racism, and you know it. As soon as you start talking to them, you know it. I mean, you literally pick up on it. It doesn't take you 5 minutes talking to somebody to figure out if they are actually raised up in a racist family, because it's going to come out of their mouth, and it's going to flow out in a natural form. And these things that are going on now, there's no real racism in the issue. It's the fact that people are wanting to make it a racist issue. People like Al Sharpton, people like Jesse Jackson, Louis Farrakhan, they're trying to make it an issue, and President Obama is not helping. He's allowing it. He should have already stepped up and said, shut it down. Shut it down. But he hasn't. He came out when Trayvon Martin was killed and said, that boy could have been my son. Well, Mr. President, could any of these police officers that's been gunned down been your son? Silence. Crickets. But they're at the heart of the racist issue. Now we got some guy with funky-looking hair on Facebook calling for the killing of white people and cops. But where's Obama? Silent. They should have every agency looking for this guy because he's getting a lot of attention, and he's doing nothing but spouting off racism. But they made a big issue about flags and everything else when Dillon went and shot these 9 people in Charleston. But they're not making an issue about somebody calling for open season on whites. I mean, you tell me where the racism is. It's obviously in the White House. It's not right here in Central America or South Georgia or South Alabama. You know, us working folks every day, we work with all colors. We don't get into fights out here, but we got people calling for it in Washington, calling for it in wherever Farrakhan's at, California, Milwaukee, Maryland. But these people that work every day, go to work every day, truckers, electricians, carpenters, they work side by side, all races, all colors, and you don't hear none of them fighting and killing each other, do you? I mean, let's get real for a minute here. Racism is something that's taught. So, as far as dealing with it, I am responsible for what I say, not what you understand. You are responsible for what you say, not what I understand. So, if I'm held accountable for what I say, you're held accountable for what you say, everybody will get along just fine.
What role should the federal government play in healthcare?
Well, anytime you give the government control of something, it's going to be a cluster. I mean, we already know that. We got red tape out the yin-yang with just the VA. The government should probably only be even dealing in healthcare with Social Security and the VA. I mean, granted, those two things the government probably needs to do. But as far as the average citizen, we need to let it go back to the insurance companies. We need to let the insurance companies quote the price. Not only that, insurance companies have the capability to stand on top of state by state by state. The government is centralized on the other side of the Beltway, across the Potomac. They're in a little island that's not even part of the United States anymore, and they don't even know what's going on in California. They don't have a grip on what's going on in California. But somebody in California, a healthcare agency in California, would know. And let the government have the red tape. It's ridiculous. The government should have never got into healthcare. The only reason they did is because they want a one-payer system. And when you put a monopoly on something, it's a tragedy. Somebody's going to die. And in this case, it's probably going to be millions of Americans going to die because they didn't get healthcare. Look at what's going on in the VA. We got 300,000 vets that are dying because they can't get healthcare. And that's something that my running mate, John Anderson, is real partial to his heart is the VA. I mean, I've got my personal issues with the VA myself, but I can tell you that John, I'm probably going to have to put him on a leash with the VA because he's going to want to rip some people apart in the VA. Our veterans signed a check up to and including their lives to protect this country. We made them promises. By God, we need to stick to those promises. We need to be taking care of our vets. And I don't care if they have to go to a local hospital and get a surgery done. The government needs to pick up the tab and not worry about it. They need to take care of them. We've got to stop this letting our vets die while they're waiting on care. It doesn't work. And it doesn't work for me. And I know it doesn't work for a lot of Americans out there.
What priority would you give repair of infrastructure? What role should the federal government play in maintaining infrastructure?
Well, you do know that there's two different kinds of infrastructure. There's the security infrastructure, and then there's what's called the road use infrastructure. The government is charged of the roads, bridges, stuff like that, but they're also charged of they have this infrastructure they call security-based that they've been using the Bureau of Land Management to steal land with. And they do try to work with landowners and stuff like that for this security infrastructure. In other words, the government's trying to acquire more land to make people feel safer, but meanwhile, they're pushing more and more people to the city. We need to curb that. We need to curb that security infrastructure. As far as the roads, bridges infrastructure, you know, we have what's called road use taxes, gasoline taxes, stuff like that. There's more than enough money gets funded to the government through road use taxes, gasoline taxes. The problem is that misappropriation. The problem is that so many people are stealing the money that it's not getting used to rebuild our roads and bridges and stuff like that. And most people think, well, it's not a problem. I mean, the road I ride on, I see them doing construction work and everything. Where it runs into a problem is we have some roads that are so bad. Let's just take a single mom working, has two kids she's trying to raise on her own, and she hits a pothole with her car, bends the rim, blows out the tire, breaks the low control arm. She just spent a week to 2 weeks worth of her pay just to fix her car so she can get back and forth to work. And if she filed a claim against the government because she hit the pothole, they're like, are you talking to me? What you talking about, Willis? We're not going to help you with your car. You're just going to have to spend it yourself. And that's the person that hurts the most, is that mother who now has to spend $500, $600, even $1,000 to fix her car because the road wasn't kept up. But nobody cares. Well, guess what? There is some people that care. One person that cares a lot because he sees it on a daily basis. I see this every day just about. Somebody damages their car because of road conditions. And nobody cares about them. Well, Robert Macleod Jr. cares. John Anderson cares. And we know, we hear the things that people go through on a daily basis. And see, that's the other thing about what I will bring to the presidency. The transparency that has never been in Washington. Look, I have a lot of friends on Facebook, Twitter. I talk to them on a daily basis. Even if I was elected, I would still talk to them on a daily basis because what better way to keep up with what the American people are having problems with than talking to them. And nobody in Washington talks to the American people. Oh, sure, they go to a controlled meeting and say, oh, you can stand up and speak, but you got to keep your question limited to this. I talk to people all day long on Facebook, Twitter, and stuff like that, and people know they can say pretty much anything to me as long as they don't threaten me. Same way with John Anderson. John, he'll let them rant, rave, carry on, cuss him out as long as they don't threaten him. He's fine with it. But it's part of staying in communication with the people of the United States, and we haven't had that in Washington so long that people have almost forgotten what it's like. So, infrastructure, the roads and bridges, we have more than enough money in road use tax paid by truckers and gasoline tax paid by car operators. But just to put this in perspective, a road use tax for a truck driver is anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 a year, where you might pay $2,000 to $2,500 a year on your car. So the truck drivers out there, their opinions are real good. They tell you, they see what's going on in these roads. They know. And see, I talk to a lot of truckers, so I know what they're experiencing. And people, Washington is so far out of touch, they haven't got a clue what's going on out here in the real world for the working man. And that's where we stand, for the working man.
Where do you stand on the issue of personal privacy and the need to protect our nation from terrorism? There seems to be a conflict between personal rights, personal liberties, intrusion in government, and then keeping an eye out for all the little shadowy things the terrorists might be doing. Where do you strike that balance?
Well, here's the thing. Nobody should be listening into your phone calls unless they get a warrant. I mean, this has worked great for years. Why now all of a sudden do we have to have everybody's phone calls recorded? What, so they can go back and listen to them later? I mean, I really don't understand this. And I understand that if we have a terrorist cell operating, we have to first identify this terrorist cell. Once we've identified them, then all bets are off. I mean, I have no problem if somebody says, just like with Iran standing up saying death to America and death to Israel. Anybody that's an Iranian, I don't have a problem with listening to his phone call, especially if he's over here in the United States and he's got billions of dollars and setting up a damn camp to train people. I have no problem with listening to his phone calls because I want to know what he's talking about. This is the United States, not Iran. But as far as if you're an American citizen, everyday Joe, what's the purpose of listening to your phone calls unless you have broken the law? Once you've broken the law and you can get a warrant and listen in, that's great. But without that warrant, if you got to go back to the Constitution, look, it says they got to have a warrant. So, I mean, these people listening in without warrants, it's got to go. They got to stop. And just open air cameras everywhere. Why do we have to have open air cameras everywhere? It's because people are thinking it's okay to break the law now. It starts back with teaching respect for other people. We start teaching respect to our children, they're going to respect other people's properties. We probably won't need the cameras everywhere. There's no need to watch these people anymore if they're starting to respect other people. And we have no respect anymore, so that's why the cameras are there. But I still think we need to go back and live by the Constitution. If you want to spy on me, you need a warrant. Simple.
All right. What role does faith, religion, spirituality, etc. play in your life? And what type of role would it play for you if you were elected president?
Well, I've always said I believe in God, family, Constitution, and country. And I think that most everything in our world can be divided into four things: God, family, Constitution, and country. And the continuous removal of God, I understand that it says freedom of religion, okay? And it says separation of church and state. But our founding fathers had a faith-based idea of how this country should run. And removing the Ten Commandments from courthouses, removing the Pledge of Allegiance because it says in God we trust. Now we got a gold coin comes out, they're completely removed in God we trust off it. 90% of Americans in God we trust. And the problem is that you're not seeing the people that believe in God because they've just about given up on voting. They've given up on speaking out. They've given up on saying anything because no matter what they say, they're put down because, oh, you're just another one of them Bible thumpers. No, we're not Bible thumpers. We believe that God is our Savior. And to completely eliminate Him from anything that you do is a tragic mistake. I mean, every day there's time during my course of my day I said, Lord, I need your help on this one. Or, Lord, please help me bite my tongue so I don't cuss this fellow out, because that's about how bad it gets sometimes. But that thought, Lord, help me, it curbs that attitude of just jumping down somebody's throat. It curbs that wanting to just knock the hell out of somebody. And that right there alone is evident that something exists other than us, something that we can believe in, something that has some control and is helping us through our daily lives. I hear people all day say, if I could just do this, and I could just do that, and I had $1 million over here, why don't you just ask the Lord what it is that you need and see what He shows you? And those that do come back and say, you're right, man. I sat down and I actually prayed to God about it, and that thought came in my head, why don't I try this? And I tried it, and it worked. And look at me, I'm doing fine. It's something else out there that's helping us, and we don't realize it. And until we start asking for it, until we start putting God back into our country, we are lost as a nation, because the evil is lurking everywhere, and it's trying to steal your values, trying to steal your family. I mean, I try to avoid getting into faith issues with people, but I got to tell you, there is a God, and if we don't put Him back in our country, we're doomed. So, as far as religion playing a role, I'm a firm believer in God, and I'm not going to change that.
All right, we're coming near to the end of the interview. Be a political forecaster. Predict two major problems facing our country in the future that very few people are talking about. What would you do to prepare America for maybe one or two things?
Well, consider how volatile I guess you would call it the petrodollar, and I see these people are trading with bitcoins in the background, and I really think that if the Fed raises the interest rate, we're going to see either, if not a total collapse of the dollar, we're going to see our dollar bill not worth anything. And, not a lot of people are talking about it. There's a few that's advertising you buy gold, buy silver, and all that sort of stuff. But nobody's really, in the average person, even worried about what will happen if my dollar bill's not worth anything. Because if I had a wheelbarrow full of dollars and I couldn't buy a loaf of bread, I'd kind of be in trouble. So that's one thing that I see that might really be a big issue, and people need to start worrying about what are they going to do if money suddenly didn't exist. So how would you barter? Or do you have some kind of production skill that you can trade out for? Can you do work for food? I mean, you got to really think about it. These things hit us when the stock market collapsed back in the 29. So, I mean, during the Depression, people worked for food. So you got to get that mindset. It's kind of like, I was trying to think of the name of the country. My son served in the Marines over there with the UN. And Bosnia. When Bosnia collapsed, there was total chaos. And people literally were trading anything they could for what they needed. So barter system was a big-time deal. And when Bosnia collapsed, the money wasn't any good. You know, they had no public services. They had no delivery trucks. You literally had to depend on what you could barter for on the street. And I think somewhere along the way in Facebook, I had shared a story from a Bosnian about what happened inside their country during that collapse. And people really need to read. They need to know what happened in different times and how they dealt with it, because it will help you if you have to deal with it. And just knowing it in the back of your head gets you prepared. And a prepared mind is always thinking. A prepared mind never panics. And we're going to have a lot of panicked people, so we're going to need a lot of prepared minds out there. As far as the second thing that I see, this deal with the Muslims. If you look across all the countries that Muslims are overtaking, when they're the minority, they're just quiet, peaceful folks. But as they start to become equivalent or a majority, they start wanting to change things. They start wanting Sharia law. And as the Muslim population starts building up here in the United States, we're starting to see some changes here too. And people better really start taking a notice, because unless they want Sharia law in their town, this is a real factor that's coming. And once they become the aggressor, they start demanding some things that most of the people in the United States aren't going to go along with, and especially the women. And oh my goodness, I know when I make my wife mad, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. But some of these women out here better start looking at what these Muslim men think about women or how they treat the women, and start worrying about whether Sharia law is going to be coming to their town or not, and start speaking up about we need to get rid of the Muslims. So it's just my opinion on that one. Anyway.
All right. Everybody has things they're really good at and things they're not so good at. What are your weaknesses, the things you're not so good at, and what would you do to make up for those?
Well, one thing I'm really good at is I'm really good at reading, and I believe everybody should be good at reading. I learned to read at a really young age, and I'm good at reading. I suck at typing. I need a typist. I can't type. Sure, I can use my talk to text, but it doesn't type it right either. So I probably type 5 words a minute. That's how bad I type. But something that I do have a knack for is being able to listen to someone speak and look into their eyes, and I can literally perceive whether they're telling me the truth or not. Same way with as I listen to an engine or I lay my hand on it and I feel the vibrations from it, I can literally know what's going on with it. I'm one of those few people that actually feel the vibrations or feel the energy. I feel this coming to me, and it just tells me what's going on. I can listen to someone do a video on Facebook, and I can literally feel whether they're an honest person or this is just crazy. You know, that's like Mark Kessler, that police chief. He had everybody all hyped up about standing up for the Constitution. I felt like this guy was a federal agent from the get-go. Guess what? He was a federal agent. So, I mean, the ability to sit outside the box and look at things and feel and know what's going on and what's wrong is a big plus that I bring to the table. And we haven't had anybody that's been able to sit and look at a problem and say, that's the problem. That's what we need to fix, and then roll up his sleeves and go fix it. I bring to you someone willing to work, not scared of getting dirty working. And we haven't had that in so long, most people have forgotten what it's like. You know, everybody likes to play blame game. Oh, it's somebody else's fault. Oh, well, check with the records department because they're supposed to handle it. Check with the personnel department. They're supposed to handle it. No, the buck stops here. I'm supposed to handle it. Let's get it taken care of and get it done and out of the way, and we can move on to the next problem.
Okay, time for some closing remarks. In 2 minutes or less, tell us why we should vote for you.
Well, I hope after this interview you've already heard it somewhere along the line, but last time I checked, my Constitution says we the people, not we the corporations. And if you want someone that's going to be there for the people, you know, I started this because we the people no longer had a voice. We the people no longer were being heard. I started with 270 friends. Now I've got thousands of friends, and I probably have a lot more reach than I even know about. But the thing about it is I started this to give us back a voice. We, the people, need to be heard. We, the people, are hurting. We, the people, need changes made for the Americas, not for Iran, not for Saudi Arabia, not for Africa. We need changes in America, and we need them now. We have people that are starving here. We have people that are homeless here. We have vets that are dying. And we promised to take care of them. And there's billions of dollars being sent overseas that is needed right here in the United States of America. Until we put somebody back in that office that believes in America and is ready to use that money we're spending overseas for America, nothing's going to change. That's like this Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement. We told you with NAFTA. Ross Perot told everybody with NAFTA, if you sign the NAFTA deal, jobs are going to leave America. Jobs left America. Now they want to sign the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and we're telling you jobs are going to leave America. Let them sign the deal. Jobs are going to leave America. Is it going to be your job? Probably so. Why should you vote for me, Robert Macleod Jr.? Because I believe in America, and I believe we need to be worried about America, not worried about the world. We need to get out of the United Nations. We need to shut it down, take our 21% interest, and invest it back in the United States of America. That's why you should vote for me.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Macleod, again for the interview. I would like to thank my listeners for listening, and be sure to check back in the future for more candidate interviews. Have a good day, everybody. Remember to keep informed, keep passionate, and most of all, stay involved. Thanks again, Mr. Macleod.
You're very welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.